switching concepts. Switching concepts, which we see that what switch we have and what is the switch and what it do and how we can configure the switches. So first, switch is a computer networking device that connects the device together on a computer network. By using the packet switching to receive, process and forward data to the destination device, and switch forwards data only to one or multiple devices that need to receive it, rather than the broadcasting the same data out of each of its port. A network switch is a multi-port network bridge that uses the hardware address, that is MAC address, to process and forward data at the data link layer of the OSI module. And switches can also process data at the network layer by additionally incorporating routing functionality that most commonly uses IP addresses to perform packet forwarding. And such switches are commonly known as layer 3 switches or multi-layer switches. So basically, switch do what? It is the device which connects the multiple devices together. So if suppose we have multiple devices in case we have machines, we have servers, PCs, whatever we have, and we want to connect them together. Now remember, in these devices we have only one LAN port. So if we have only one LAN port, so if we connect them together, then we can only connect two machines together. But if we want to connect them all together, then we use the central device, we use the star topology, and we use the centralized device to connect them together. And that device is the switch. That is switch which we use nowadays. Previously it was a hub which we used in old days. In early days of networking, we used the hub devices, but hub was not that good. It was very slow because it was doing the broadcast. It was doing the broadcast. That means if suppose one machine wants to send data to some other machine, it do what? It receives the data on that port and then broadcast it to every other port. But that is what not the switch do. Switch do what? It uses a different thing. It uses a different technology, and it do what? It only send the data to the source and destination. It do only unicast. It does not do the broadcast. It only do the unicast, not like the hub. It does not do the broadcast. It only send the data from source to destination machine. And for that, it creates the table. It creates the table of MAC addresses. That means it creates the MAC address table, and in that table it puts the entry of all the connected devices, and it knows that which port has which MAC address connected. And if suppose when some machine sends the data, so it sends from one MAC address to other MAC address directly without sending it to other devices. Now these MAC address reading, it reads the MAC address of the sending and receiving data. So it works on data link layer. Data link layer, because on data link layer the device, the MAC addresses are attached or read. So in a data link layer of OSI model, the MAC addresses are attached into the packet, and also on the destination side it is going to be read. So it is also done by the switch. So we can say the switch is working on the data link layer because it can read up to MAC address. It can open the packet up to MAC address. It can open the packet up to data link layer, and it can see the source and destination MAC address, and based on that it do the switching decision and forwards the data to the exact machine, exact destination machine. But we have some switches which can also do open the network layer, that is layer 3. That means it can open the packet till the network layer, and till the network layer, that means in the network layer what we have IP address informations. So those kind of switches can do what? They can do the forwarding based on the IP addresses also. In other words, we can say that those switches can work like a router, and they can do the routing also. Those kind of switches are called commonly layer 3 switches. Why layer 3? Because layer 3 is the network layer, and the switches can read the packet up to network layer. Or we can say multi-layer. because it works on both data link layer and network layer both. So we can say it as a, normally we can say the layer 3, we say the layer 3 switches, or we say the multi-layer switches. And one more thing, these switch devices is actually advanced version of bridge. Advanced version of bridge device, and that is why it's sometimes called multi-network bridge. Multi-network bridge, the bridge is do the same job like the switch do. Actually the switch is advanced version of the bridges. The bridges was not used nowadays. Switches are more faster than the bridges, because we can say the switches do the hardware based for forwarding or switching, and the bridge was doing the software based switching. Both the devices do what? They divide the network into, they divide the single network into multiple segments, and each port of the switch will be act as a different segment. Now, switch management features. So what are the management features we have in the switches? So turn particular port range on or off. That means we have multiple ports in the switches, so we can on and off ports, particular ports or range of ports. Then we can set the link bandwidth and duplex settings. We can set the bandwidth of those ports. Now switches comes with the ports with the 10 Mbps speed, 100 Mbps speed, or gigabit per second speed. But we can do what? We can reduce that bandwidth, we can manage the bandwidth if we like. Then also we can change the duplex setting. We can by default these switches are on full duplex. We can change them to half duplex, or we want them to put it into full duplex also. So it depends on us, like we want to configure, we can configure these things. Then we can also set the priority setting for ports. This is for quality of service. We can manage the priority of the ports, so that which port is get the more priority. Then we can use the MAC filtering and other types of port security features which prevents the MAC flooding. This MAC flooding is a kind of attack. That hackers do to hack the switch device or harm the switch device, do the denial of service on the switch device. To prevent this, we can use the MAC address filtering, and also for some other reasons, like we want to allow only the valid and authenticated users to connect our switch, so we can set the MAC filtering on that, and this is called port security. These features are called port security, which we can configure on switches. Then we can use of spanning tree protocol technology. We can use this spanning tree protocol technology also on the switch. We can configure. Now this spanning tree protocol is to prevent the looping, layer 2 loops. When we connect multiple switches together, then in those switches there is a chances of having a layer 3 loops. That means the data will loop in the network, and it loops multiple times, or it can be looped infinity time. So we can use this spanning tree protocol to stop that or prevent that. This by default, this spanning tree protocol is on the switch. It is configured and enabled. So because of that, we don't have a loops. But if you don't have this spanning tree protocol, then it will be a loop. Then we can manage the VLAN settings. We can create the VLANs, we can serve security and perform goals by reducing the size of the broadcast domain. So VLANs is actually virtual LAN. By default, LAN means what? A LAN means local area network, and VLANs means virtual LAN. That means we have a physical LAN. We can say like this is our physical LAN. LAN means this is a local area network where we have multiple devices connected together. So these are the multiple devices together connected. Now what we can do here, we can say this is the physical LAN, but in the physical LAN we can do what? We can create virtual LAN. We can virtually separate some devices from each other. That is what we call it as a VLAN, virtual LAN. Normally this is a physical LAN, but inside the physical LAN we can create virtually a virtual LANs that will separate the machines from the other devices within the same LAN. So we can do that on switches, we can configure it on switches also. Now the switches we have is two type, like managed and unmanaged switches. We have managed switches and unmanaged switches. Now unmanaged switches, these switches have no configuration interface or option. That means we don't have any option or configuration interface to configure those switches. That is unmanaged switches. They are just plug and play. That means don't have to configure anything. They are configured they are already configured with everything. You just have to plug and it will start working. Plug and play device. There are typically the least expensive switches and therefore often used in a small office or home office environment. So because it is not a managed switch, then these switches are least expensive and it is a good switch for the small office or home office environment where you don't have to configure, there is no multiple devices you have, so you can use these unmanaged switches. Unmanaged switches can be desktop or rack mounted also. Desktop or rack mounted, that means we can use it on the desktop, we can put it on the desk, or we can also have a rack for the rack mounted switches also. Rack mounted switches, like we have a rack is actually a box, we can say, where we have multiple racks to fix the devices. So if you have multiple devices to fix, like routers or switches, so we can put them like we can fix them in a box, we can secure them in a box, and that box contain the racks and we can put them into the racks, and that is called the rack mounted, which we mount on the rack box, or we can say on racks. And we can have a normal switch also which we can put on the desk and it will work. That is all we can say, it is a desktop or rack mounted switches. Now managed switches are the different. These switches have one or more method to modify the operation of these switches. That means it is also with it comes with the default settings also, but we can modify the settings and we can do many more configurations. And there are methods, there are more than one methods we can use to modify the operation of the switches. Then common management method includes the command line interface. That means we can use the command line interface to access via serial console, telnet or secure shell. And also embedded simple network management protocol, that is SNMP agent, allowing management from a remote console or management station or a web interface, or management from a web browser. So commonly it has more than one method for the modifying and configuring the switch, and those are all command line interface. That means whatever the method you use, those methods are command line. So command line via serial console, that means you use the console port, just like the router. In a switch also we have a console port where we can connect the rollover cable, that is the console cable, and then we can connect it to our device, our machine, our PC, and then we can configure the switch. We can configure the switch by using the command line interface. Then also if it is already configured, with the IP addresses, then we can access it remotely by using the telnet or secure shell, SSH. Or also we can use these embedded SNMP protocol. If some switches, now this is not available for every switches, some switches has the SNMP embedded, and in that it has some switches which is enabled it, and some switches are not enabled it. So in some switches we have to enable it, some switches is by default enabled. So this SNMP protocol is also a management protocol. As a name suggests, it is a simple network management protocol, and this protocol, with the help of the protocol, we can manage multiple network devices from the single location. Like we have a PC here, we have a server here, we have a switch here, we have a router here. So we can use SNMP protocol to manage all these devices from our desktop. Like we are sitting in our laptop or desktop, and through the network we can access these switches, these routers, these servers or these PCs, and we can do management. We can do the management also. Basically this one is for the administrator use it for the monitoring, but we can use it for managing also. Then also we can use the web interface for management of these switches and routers through the web browser. So there is an option which we can use to manage the switches and routers from the web browser by using the web interface. But for these other management interfaces, we need to have first configure the switches with the IP addresses and other configurations. Otherwise, we are not able to access them through the network. So the main interface, main way of configuring the switches or even a router is this console. So we have to connect the console port when it is not configured with anything. Then examples of configuration changes that one can perform from the managed switch includes the enabling features such as spanning tree protocol or port mirroring. Then setting port bandwidth, creating or modifying the virtual LANs, that is VLANs. Now there is one more concept, one more term, it is called collusion domain. Collusion domain happens to be on bus topology. In a bus topology, the collusion domain was happened because everyone was connected through the single cable, and if someone wants to send the data to some other machine, they have to send, other machines have to wait. We can say this was the bus topology. It was like this, where all the devices were connected into a same single line. So because of that, if someone wants to send any data to someone, then they have to send, other devices have to wait for their finish. Now in that design, in that topology, when two devices send the data at the same time, then what happens? The collusion happens. The data will collide each other and then no one will get anything. And then what happens when the collusion happens? They send the jam signal to everyone and everyone stops. They will not send any data. So collusion, when the collusion happens, then everyone affected. Now what we are using is switch, and switch is actually we use in the star topology. We don't use switches in the bus topology. We use switch in a star topology, but still this is star topology. Where is it? It is here. Now the star, we use the switches in a star topology, but still it uses that CSMS/CD. This star topology is actually the extension of the bus topology, because when the star topology was there, we were using the bus. Because the device we used in a centralized device was hub. So basically the hub do what? It send the packet, it broadcast the packet to everyone. So when there was a hub as a centralized device, so the topology was a star topology, but it works like a bus topology. And that is why we had this CSMS/CD available in star topology also. Right now we are using the switches in the star topology. So there is no chance of having a collusion, but still the collusion domain is what? Is the set of LAN interface whose frame could collide with each other, but not with frames sent by any other devices in the network. So the collusion occurs when two computers want to use the bandwidth at the same time. Generally speaking, in easy terms, a collusion domain is a set of PCs for which a frame sent by one PC could result in a collusion with the frame sent by any other PC in the same collusion domain. So if suppose this one also send the packet and this one also sends the packet, and they go on to reach each other, and then what? They will collide, and that is what the collusion. Now this will not happen in switches, but only one device in the collusion domain may transmit at any one time, and the other devices in the domain listen to the network in order to avoid the data collusion. So collusion also decreases network efficiency on a collision domain, and if two devices transmit simultaneously, a collision occurs and both devices must retransmit at a later time. So modern wired network use a network switch to eliminate the collision. So what we use in switch is to eliminate. It uses the network switch by connecting each devices directly to a port on the switch, and either each port on a switch becomes its own collision domain in a case of half duplex links, or the possibility of collisions is eliminated entirely in the case of full duplex links. So actually the switch does not do the collision, but still the collision, the each port of the switch is itself a collision domain. Now that means what, when we are using the hub, there was a single collision domain when we use the hub. So in a hub, because hub do the broadcast, it works like a bus. So in that hub we have single collision domain. That means if you have a single hub connected, no matter whatever devices you are connected, it is called a single collision domain, because when the collision happens, everyone will be affected. If you have multiple devices connected, multiple hubs are connected, still there will be a single collision domain when we were using the hub, because it was working like a bus topology. But when we use switches, then switches do what? It divides the collision domain into per port. That means in our switch, if we have 3 ports here, so we can say we have 3 collision domains in a single switch. So as many as port we have, that number of collision domain we have in a switch. Now why? Because switch does not do the collision. Because switch creates the MAC address table, it knows that where the switch, where the port is, where the MAC address, where the PC is, where the device is, and it will send only to that device. It will not send to any other device. And it create this, convert this into segment. Every ports are a separate segment of the switch. So when these 2 segments are sending and receiving the data, then this segment is free to send the data. That is why there is no collision in the switch devices. But if we connect a hub in one of these switch port, if suppose I connected the hub on this one port here, and now hub will do what? It will do the broadcast, and they will do the broadcast, and suppose hub has connected with multiple devices here, and if these 2 devices do the collision here, so they will also try to affect the other devices on switch. So it will not happen, because it will break the collision on this port. It will not forward the collision to other ports of the switch, because the port itself is a collision domain. It will not forward the collision to other ports. Other ports are different collision domains. Then we have broadcast domain. Broadcast domain is important. Broadcast domain is a logical division of a computer network in which all nodes can reach each other by broadcast at the data link layer. A broadcast domain can be within the same LAN segment, or it can be bridged to other LAN segments. And when one of the device sends a broadcast, all the other devices receive a copy of the broadcast. Broadcast means one to all. And by default the hub has a broadcast domain. That means it is a single broadcast domain, the hub. And if you have one hub, then it is a single broadcast domain, because it do the broadcast. If one machine sends the data, whether it is broadcast or not, when this machine sends the data to hub, it will always do the broadcast, and it will send it to all the other devices. So by default the hub is a broadcast domain, a single broadcast domain. When we have multiple hubs, if suppose I have multiple hubs here, so if we have 3 hubs here, and if these 3 hubs are not connected to each other, so we can say these 3 are separate broadcast domain, because broadcast of this hub will not reach to other hubs. But when we connect them together, so we can say these are a single broadcast domain. So if broadcast come from one hub, it will also reach to other devices. other devices of other hubs. Now what is we have in switch? So switch is also same as the hub. Now for the broadcast, switch will also work like a same. By default, switch will also do the broadcast. That means if suppose, now it will not do the broadcast for every packet. If suppose this machine wants to send the data to only this machine, then the data will go to only this machine. But if this machine wants to send the broadcast packet, it wants to send the broadcast to everyone, then the switch will also do the broadcast. And just like hub, switch will also send the packet to everyone. So when we have a single switch, we can say it is a single broadcast domain, and we have multiple switches not connected, then we have multiple broadcast domain. But when they connected together, then the broadcast will forward to other switches also, and we can say this is a single broadcast domain when they are connected. So remember, by default the switches are also single broadcast domain and works like a hub, but only for the broadcast packets. For example, switch flutes the broadcast and multicast also, even a multicast also, multicast on all ports. So even if suppose some machine from this switch which is connected to the switch sends the broadcast packet or a multicast packet, multicast is not a broadcast, it is like one to many but not all. But for the switches it is also a broadcast, because multicast is actually a IP address multicast, and switches don't understand the IP address. For the multicast IP also the devices put the broadcast MAC address. So whether you have a broadcast or multicast, it will do the broadcast and it will go for all the ports. And because broadcast frames are sent out all ports, a switch creates a single broadcast domain, and any computer connected to the same switch is a member of the same broadcast domain. Further, any computer connected to the same set of interconnected switches is a member of the same broadcast domain. So whether we have on a single switch, it is a single broadcast domain, and when we connect multiple switches, so we can say they are also in a single broadcast domain. Now routers and other higher level devices from boundaries between broadcast domain, collision domains are generally smaller than the broadcast domains, and broadcast domains are only divided by layer 3 network devices such as routers or layer 3 switches. So these broadcast domains, if suppose we have 3 broadcast domains here, but if I put a router here, so router will do what? It will not forward the broadcast packet. So it will break the broadcast, and we have now 3 different broadcast domain. This one will be one, this one will be the second one, and this one will be the third broadcast domain. So layer 3 devices like routers do what? They divide the broadcast domain. Or we can have layer 3 switch also. So switch is also can work on the layer 3, that is layer 3 switches or multi-layer switches. They can also break the broadcast. Now transparent bridging. Now as I said, the switch is actually the advanced version of bridging, bridge device. So mostly in a configuration also, and some terms we call it bridge. So transparent bridging. Now transparent bridging means what? In most Ethernet LAN switches uses a very cool system called transparent bridging to create their address lookup table. And transparent bridging is a technology that allows a switch to learn everything it needs to know about the location of nodes on the network without the network administrators having to do anything. And transparent bridging has 5 parts. That is learning, fluting, filtering, and forwarding and aging. Now why it calls transparent? Now remember, this is our switch. And on the switch we have multiple ports. And in those ports we connect our devices. Now our devices will connect into the switches. Now the switch will do what? It will do forward the data to each other. Like these machines will send the data to each other by using the switch. But the interesting thing is that these devices don't know that there is a switch between these devices. Remember, these devices don't know that they are connected to switch. And that is what it is called transparent bridging. Because the devices which is connected to the switch, they don't know that they are connected to switch. They feel they are doing the direct communication. All the devices which is connected to the switches, they feel that they are connected directly to each other. They don't know that they are connected with the switch. And that is why we call it a star topology. Physically it is a star topology, but actually it works like a mesh topology. In a mesh topology, all the devices were directly connected to each other. But here they are not connected to each other directly, but the switch are transparent, so switch does not identify their self. Switch does not show that they are connected to the switch. These devices feels that they are connected directly. How they are connected direct? They feel like this because the switch works like that. For example, this machine wants to send the data to this machine. So what it will do here, it will send the data. Now remember, the data, when data goes out of this device, it will carry out from all those 7 OSI layers. So it will go from first layer, the 7th layer to the first layer. And when it reaches the data link layer, this machine adds the MAC address of the source machine which is sending the data, add the MAC address of the destination machine who is going to receive the data. And remember, only data link layer, this switch can open the packet only till data link layer. Now the packet will go to the switch. It will forward the packet. The device don't know that it is forwarding the packet to switch. The device feels that the device which I want to send, it is connected to this port. So it sends a packet to this port and the data reaches the switch by this port. Now when the packet enters in the switch, the switch will do what? It will open the packet, and it will open the packet till data link layer. Remember, the switch can open the packet till only the data link layer. And in the data link layer, it sees that the source MAC address and destination MAC address, that who is sending the packet and who is receiving the packet. Now the switch knows that the packet, the destination MAC address is connected to this port. So it will do what? It will repack the packet. Remember, it repack the packet. It will pack the packet again without doing anything. It will pack the packet again and forward the packet to this port. And then the packet reaches this machine, destination machine. Now the destination machine will accept the packet as usual, like it is coming from directly the source machine. This machine, the destination machine don't know that someone has opened the packet and read the packet and read the MAC address. When it opens the packet, it will see that it is coming from this source and it is for me, and it will accept the packet. Now both the machine, the source and the destination machine, don't know that someone has opened the packet and repacked it for the destination. So they feel they are connected directly, and that is why it is called transparent bridging. Now the transparent bridging has these 5 parts. These 5 parts are for the transparent bridging. The first part is learning. Now learning means the switch do this all, the switch forward the packet, unicast the packet only because it reads the packet. It can open the packet and it can read the packet, it can see the source and destination MAC address. And then after reading the packet, it checks its MAC address table. It has a MAC address table into a memory. The memory is called CAM, Content Addressable Memory. In that memory, it creates the MAC address table. And it reads the MAC address, see the table, and then see the table that where the port is connected, and then forward the data to that port. Now to do that, first it has to pass this part. First it has to do this part. It has to do the learning, otherwise the switch will not able to do the unicast. So it will not be able to do the unicast when it has not created the CAM table or MAC address table. So for what happened first, when you switch on the switch, when you switch on the switch, there is no information in the CAM table, there is no information in the MAC address table. When we connect the device, like for example, this device MAC address is A, this device MAC address is B, this device MAC address is C, this device MAC address is D, this device MAC address is E. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ports. So in the CAM table there is a port information like this is port 1, this is port 2, port 3, port 4 and port 5. Now this port table is empty until it fills with the MAC address table. So this first part, the learning part, is to learn the MAC addresses and create the CAM table. This is called learning. Learning means the switches do what? Switch do the learning to create the CAM table and add the MAC address on these CAM table to their respective connected ports. So how we do that? Now first time when you enable the switch and when you start the switch on the switch, there is no information in the CAM table. Now when you connect these devices and these devices start doing the communication. For example, this machine is sending the packet to the machine with the MAC address C. We are only talking about MAC addresses because switch can only work till the data link layer. It will not see the IP address. Remember, the switches will not able to see the IP address unless the switch is layer 3 switch. Now this machine sends the data to this machine. Now the packet will reach to the switch here. Now switch opens the packet, reads the source MAC address and destination MAC address. Now when it reads the source and destination MAC address, it checks the CAM table and sees the CAM table is empty. There is no information in the CAM table because the switch is just started. Now first it will do what? It will add the MAC address, source MAC address on their respective port. This MAC address is, this data is coming from this port, so the source MAC address is on this port. So it adds that MAC address in that port, like this MAC address A is on port A, port 1. Now what? It does not know about the destination MAC address. The destination MAC address is saying C, but in the CAM table there is no entry. There is no entry. Then what it will do here, in that case the switch will do what? It will broadcast the packet to every port. It will broadcast the packet to every other port except the port where the data comes. The data came from port 1, so it will leave the port 1 and then it will forward and broadcast the packet to all the other ports. Port number 2, 3, 4, 5. That means all these machines will get the data, but no one will accept it because their MAC address is not C. So when the packet reaches these machines will accept the packet, open the packet till data link layer, and when they see the MAC address, it says C MAC address, it is not for me, it will drop. This machine will check, it is not for this machine, it will also drop. This machine will check, it will also drop. So only the machine which accepts the packet is this machine and it will receive the packet. Now the MAC address is added into the CAM table. The one MAC address is added into the CAM table. Now same as when the other machines start doing the communication. When this machine sends the data, it will send, and the source MAC address will be B, so it will be added here on port number 2. Then when this machine sends the data, so the source MAC address will be C, so it will be added on this port. When this machine will send the data, so the source MAC address will be D, so it will be added on this port. Now remember, until it will not added, it will do the broadcast. Then this machine will send the data, it will be added into this port. Now once the CAM table is created, then it will not do the broadcast. So when this machine sends the data to this machine, so the data will go to the switch. The switch opens the packet and check the source MAC address is port 1 is on port 1. The destination MAC address is on port 3 port 4 port 3. So it will repack the packet and forward it to that port number 3, and it will do the unicast. So once the CAM table is created, it only do the unicast. So first the learning part is to create the CAM table, and this is how it creates the CAM table. Now the second part is flooding. Now flooding means what? When it do the broadcast. Remember, it is a single broadcast domain, but when it do the broadcast, when it does not know the destination MAC address. Remember the first time when this machine sends the data, the CAM table was empty. So what switch did? Switch did the broadcast. It flooded the packet to all the other ports, and that is called the flooding. This is the part, it is called flooding. It do the flooding and forward the packet to each and every other ports. One more time it will do the flooding when the packet comes for the broadcast. Like the CAM table is already created, but still, suppose this machine sends the broadcast packet. Broadcast packet, that means the MAC address is broadcast MAC address, and broadcast MAC address is like FFF. All the values will be F. Remember, the MAC address is 48-bit MAC address, and we write this MAC address in hexadecimal. So in hexadecimal, if it is FFFF, that means all the bits are on. Then what? It is called the MAC address, broadcast MAC address. And when the broadcast MAC address come as a destination MAC address to the switch, then again it will flood the packet to everyone. So it will flood the packet to again everyone. Now next is what? Filtering. Filtering, or we can say first forwarding. Now forwarding, that means once the CAM table is created, so it will only do the unicast and it will only forward the packet to the destination machine, not forward to everyone. So after creating the CAM table, it will do the forwarding and it will do the unicast. Now filtering means what? We can set the filtering also. We can set the filtering also, that which MAC address we want to accept in a CAM table and which MAC address we want to send the data. So switch can also do the filtering and we can configure the filtering on it. By default the filtering is not there. Filtering means what? It is actually doing the forwarding. It always do the forwarding, it will not do the filtering by default, but we can configure the filtering also, and we can filter the packet which we want to forward or we want to accept in the CAM table. Now the final thing is aging. Aging means what? When we have the CAM table created, so the entry in the CAM table will remain, but if suppose some machine is removed, like for example this machine is now removed, but the entry for that machine's MAC address will remain in the CAM table. Now once it is remained there, then it is not able to add other entries. Remember, it is having also a memory. This CAM table is also having a memory. So if the memory is full, it is actually have enough memory, but if suppose the memory is full, then it will not be able to add any new MAC addresses. So for example, on this port I am removing this machine which is having the E MAC address, then I connect the other machine which is having different MAC address. So that port will be added here. Now this E will not be removed, it will add extra new port, new MAC address on that port. Then I will connect another machine, then I will connect other machine, other machines. So all MAC addresses will keep adding into the CAM table. Now once the CAM table memory, the CAM memory is full, then it will not be able to add any other MAC address. So for that, it actually removes the old entries. It will not keep the old entries which was not used. And that is what it is called aging. So the MAC address entry, this CAM table entry of the MAC address will not remain for the lifetime. It is going to be removed if it is not in use, and if it is not used, and then it will after some time, after a specific time, it is going to remove that entry. and that is what is a aging. So it uses this aging part to do what? To remove these old aged entries which is not used, so that the CAM table memory will not get full. Remember, if it is full, then it will not be able to add new MAC address, and when it is not able to add new MAC address, then it will do broadcast and it will start working like a hub, and that is not good for our network. So what is the functions of layer 2 switches? So there are three distinct functions of layer 2 switches. First is address learning. As we saw, the learning process where it learns the MAC addresses of different devices connected. So layer 2 switches and bridges remember the source hardware address of each frame received on an interface and enter this information into a MAC database. So when a switch is powered on, the MAC filtering table is empty. That CAM table is empty. When a device transmit and an interface receive a frame, the switch places the source address in the MAC filtering table, and remembering what interface the device is located on. And the switch has no choice but flood the network with this frame, because it has no idea where the destination device is located. So if a device answers and send the frame back, then the switch will take the source address from that frame and place the MAC address in the database. And associating these addresses with the interface that receives the frame, switch now has two MAC addresses in the filtering table. The device can make a point-to-point connection, and the frames will only be forwarded between the two devices. This is what makes layer 2 switches better than hubs. In hub network, all frames are forwarded out all ports every time. So once actually it creates the CAM table, MAC address database we can say, or we can say the MAC address table. It is called also the filtering table. So once it is created, then it will do only the point-to-point connection, unicast connection. But in a hub, there is always do the broadcast. Then forwarding and filtering. So as I said, forwarding and filtering. So in forwarding and filtering decisions, that means when a frame is received on an interface, the switch looks at the destination hardware address and finds the exit interface in the MAC address database. So when a frame arrives at the switch interface, the destination hardware address is compared to the forward or filter MAC address database. If the destination hardware address is known and listed in the database, the frame is only sent out to that correct exit interface. The switch does not transmit the frame out any interface except for the destination interface. And that is why it is called unicast or point-to-point communication, point-to-point connection. Then this preserves the bandwidth on the other network segments and is called frame filtering. So if the destination hardware address is not listed on the MAC address database, then the frame is broadcasted out all active interfaces except the interface the frame was received on. And if a device answers the broadcast, the MAC address is updated with the device location in that interface. Now this is the third and most important feature of the switch, or we can say the most important thing. Like we have this address learning function, we have the forwarding function. So first it learns the addresses, then it forwards and filters the addresses. And the third most important function of the switch is loop avoidance. Now loop avoidance means what? The layer 2 loops. In a switch environment, we can have a loop. We can have a loop of layer 2 loops. So the switches are also doing what? Loop avoidance. It is to avoid the loops. That means what? If multiple connections between the switches are created for redundancy, network loops can occur. For that, the spanning tree protocol is used to stop the network loops and allow the redundancy. That is what the spanning tree protocol, it is already enabled and configured on the switch. Redundant link are used to help stop complete network failures if one link fails. Even though redundant links are extremely helpful, they cause more problem than they solve. So because frames can be broadcast down all the redundant links simultaneously, network loops can occur, among other problems. Now let me show you the example of that first, that how that loop can occur, or what this spanning tree protocol do. Now for example, I have these two switches here. Two switches, why I'm using two switches? Suppose in this switch, in first switch, I have 20 ports, but I want to connect 50 devices. I want to connect 40 devices. I have this switch, I have on this switch I have 25 ports, and all 40 devices I cannot connect onto this machine in this switch. So I will use what? I will use another switch, and I will connect that other devices into this other switch. So this device has 25 ports. This device is having a 25 ports. So I will connect 25 devices on this port, on this switch, 20 device on this switch, and 20 device on other switch. Now when I do this, so the devices of this machine, this switch is not connected to other switch. Now I want them to connect together. I want them to connect together because I am not able to add all the devices in a single switch. I did what? I added another switch, and in that switch I connected rest of the devices. But they are all in a same network, so I want them to communicate together. But because they are connected to different switches, they will not be able to do the communication. So what is the solution? I will add one port, and then I will connect that switch to this switch by using one port, directly one cable. Now what? All the devices of this switch can also do the communication to the devices of the other switch. That is what we do. Now I feel like, suppose I feel what happened if this port removes, and what happened if I was not there to see, and if this port is removed or break or something, then what happened? These devices will not be able to do the communication to the other devices. Then they will shout, they will find where is the admin, how we can do the communication. Network will be break into two parts. Now what I will do here, now remember, this is not for the small network. This thing what I'm showing, it is not for the small network. It happens when you have a big network, when you have multiple switches. For the two switches we don't do that. But for the example I am showing you this, that I will do what? I will add one more redundant link. That means I will add one more link from this switch to this switch. It is called redundant link. Why? Because I want to have a redundancy. For two switches it is not likely to have this. But when you have multiple switches, you need to have redundant link. Because if suppose one link goes down in any case, then they should be connected to other link. Now this is what the solution. This is the solution. Why? This is the solution of redundancy, that if one link goes down, then the other link can take over. But instead of having a solution, it will create a big problem. It will create a big problem because of this redundant link. Now how it creates the problem? It will create the layer 2 loop. So how we do that? Let me show you this. Let's say for example we have connected like this, and this machine here wants to send a broadcast packet or even a multicast packet. Remember, switch will send the broadcast because it is a broadcast domain, and when it is connected to other switch, so both the switches will be a single broadcast domain, and they will do the broadcast if they see the broadcast packet. So when this machine sends the packet and it says I want to broadcast. Now what this switch will do, it will forward the packet to each and every port except the port which it receives the broadcast. So where it sends the packet, it will send the broadcast packet to this port, it will send the broadcast packet to this port, and also it will send the broadcast packet to this port. Now it is okay here, but when the packet goes from this link and reaches this switch here, now this switch will do what? It will also do the broadcast. Because it's a broadcast packet, so it will do what? It will leave the port where it receives the packet, and rest of the port it will do the broadcast. It will send the packet to this port, it will send the packet to this port, also it will send the packet to this port. Now what? there is one more link is there, and the packet is going from this link also, and it reaches the switch here from this link. Now what? This switch will do again the broadcast. It will broadcast on this port, it will broadcast on this port, and now this time it will also broadcast on this port. Now when it reaches from this port, it will reach this switch again. It is coming back to this switch. Now this switch receives the packet on this port. Now this will do what? It will broadcast on this port, and now it will broadcast the machine who is sending the broadcast also. And then it will send the broadcast to this port also. But remember, it was coming from this side also. So it will reach from this side to this port. Now this will do what? It will do the broadcast again to this side, this port, and this port again. Now when it goes from this side to this switch, then again this switch will also do the broadcast. Then from this side it will do again the broadcast. Then it will go from this side to this switch. Then both the switches will do the broadcast, and this is what a layer 2 loop. Now when this happens, then it actually consumes the whole bandwidth, and everything will stuck, and nobody will able to do anything. Nothing will work, and everything will be stopped. And that is what the layer 2 loop. So switches do what? They avoid it. They do what? They avoid the layer 2 switch, layer 2 loop. How they avoid? They use the STP protocol. STP means spanning tree protocol. Spanning tree. Very simple. What it do is spanning tree protocol. It actually put a tree on the link, redundant link. To block the road. You know, when you want to block the road, you put the tree on that road. The road will be blocked. So just like that, it do the spanning tree. Put the spanning tree on that road, on the link, on the redundant link. One of the redundant link, either on this or either on this, and it will block the link. Now when this link will be blocked, then what? The broadcast loop, the loop will not happen, because it will only go from one side and not come back from the other side. It will stop the loop. So very simple, what the spanning tree do, what? It blocks one redundant link, and then what? And then it is dynamic, it is automatically done by the spanning tree protocol. So admin don't have to see that. So when this link goes down, then spanning tree protocol will do what? It will remove this tree from it, and this link will be enabled. So in this way, there is no loop we have. And that is what the spanning tree do. And by the use of the spanning tree protocol, the switches will do what? It will try to avoid the loop. But this will not happen in the small network like these two switches. Normally these two switches we connect only with the one link. But in a big network, when we have multiple switches, so we connect multiple switches with the redundant link. And with the redundant link, this problem comes. And to solve the problem, switches uses the STP protocol, and they avoid the loops. So this is what the loop avoidance, and for that it uses the spanning tree protocol. It is to the spanning tree protocol do what? It actually stop the link, redundant link, and then that is where the broadcast, the loop will not happen. And when the other link goes down, then the blocked link will open automatically by the spanning tree protocol. Now types of switching. Now switch will do what? Switch actually do the switching. So what type of switching it do? So after that means after learning the MAC addresses, that after the learning MAC address, it do the forwarding, and forwarding, that means it do the switching. And for the switching, these are the types of switching the switch do. The first type is store and forward. Store and forward means what? In this type of switch method, the switch copies the entire frame into its onboard buffer or memory and checks the CRC. Because it copies the entire frame, latency through the switch varies the frame length. If the frame doesn't contain any error, the LAN switch looks up the destination MAC address in MAC table and determines the outgoing interface. It then forwards the frame towards the destination. Now remember, on the data link layer, we actually check also the errors. that checked by the CRC, cyclic redundancy checker. If you remember the OSI layer on the data link layer, it also checks the errors, and then it also do what, adds the source and destination MAC addresses. Now this is store and forward technology, or in store and forward switching type, switch will do what, it actually copies the whole packet into the switch. That means we have this switch here, and we are sending the data from this machine. So when it sends the packet here, so first it will do what, it will first copy the whole packet into the buffer and then see the errors. If it is no error, then check the destination MAC address and then forward the packet to the destination. It is called store and forward. Now in this type of switching, it will forward always the correct packet, because the errors will not go on, the error packets will not go. But this method, this type, is a little slower than the other type, because it is storing the whole packet into the buffer. So packet can be a various size, different size, can be a 64 KB, can be a 1554 KB, kbps, so whatever KB. So it can be a different size. So some packet copies quickly, some packet will take time. So it will depend on the buffer of your switch. It will work fast or slow. Mostly this type of switching will be slow. So old type of switches will always do this type of switching. But new type of switches will do what? They can do this cut through switching also. Now in this method, the switch checks only the destination address of the frame, and it then looks up the destination MAC address and the MAC table and determines the outgoing interface and forward the frame towards its destination. So in this case, it only checks the destination MAC address. A cut through switch provides reduced latency because it begins forward the frame as soon as it reaches the destination address and determines the outgoing interface. So in this type of switching, what it will do here, it will only check the destination MAC address. That means when you are sending the packet from your machine, so when the packet goes and reach to the switch, so it does not open, it does not load the whole switch packet into the buffer. It only opens the packet at the time of entry. Remember, when the packet enter into the switch port, this port, it goes with that 7 layers. First it reaches the physical layer, which converts the packet into bits, binary or digital, from the digital to the packet, and then on the data link layer it opens the destination and source MAC address. So only that time, when it reaches the MAC address, destination MAC address, it forwards the packet to the destination. It forwards the packet to the destination. It does not read anything. It does not load the packet into the machine. It directly forwards the packet once it's opened the destination MAC address. Now in this case, it forwards the packet quickly, but there is a chances of error packets reach the destination machine. Now this machine will discard the error packet. This machine will not keep the error packet, because when the data will get into this machine, it will also go through with all these layers, physical layers and data link layers, then network layer, and then other layers. But when it reaches the data link layer, this machine will check the error and then drop the packet if it is error. But the error packet reaches the destination. In the store and forward method, it will not reach. The error packet will not reach the destination. Switch itself removes the error packets. Now in this, it do the fast for switching, but only the problem is that error packet reaches the destination. Then we have this fragment free. Now in this fragment free type, this is in fragment free is a modified version of cut through switching. It is a modified version of cut through switching, and in which the switch reads the first 64 bytes of the frame, and if a packet has an error, it almost always occurs within the first 64 bytes. And fragment free mode provides better error checking than the cut through mode, with particularly no increase in latency. And this is the default switching method for the 1900 switches, or all the new switches, we can say. Now in that case, what it will do, if you have a switch here and when we send the packet, so basically it is a cut through. cut through method, cut through type. But when you send the packet to switch, so switch the packet, when the packet enters the switch, it reads the, when it enters physical layer, data link layer, it reads the MAC address, but also it loads first 64 bits of the packet, first 64 byte of the packet, and if any error comes, they will remain on the 64 byte. If any error comes, they can be in the 64 byte of the size. So in that place, in that memory, it will be the error. If it is, so it will also check the error without loading the whole packet, and then it will forward if it is no error, because MAC address is already read it on that data link layer. And then what, if it checks the first 64 byte of the packet, if there is no error, then it forwards the packet. So it works like a cut through, but it will also, it will do what, it will remove the error packets also. And this is what, it is a modified version of the cut through. So these are the three switching type we have on the switches, and they do the forwarding and switching based on these three types. We see this is the switching concept. So this is how the switch works, and this is the switch types and what are the switches technologies we have.